Think about that feeling, that instant sense of calm, When you step inside a certain place, what's the first thing that makes you feel truly at ease?
Yeah.
Really secure in your own space?
Yeah, that sense of just letting go.
Exactly. Forget just locking the door. Today on The Deep Dive, we're going far beyond the obvious stuff.
Yep.
We've looked through a really fascinating range of material, and our mission really is to uncover the surprising layers of what makes a home a real sanctuary.
Not just bricks and mortar.
Right? Psychologically, emotionally, even down to our biology. We're going to explore, well, everything from our deepest human needs to sensory design.
Interesting.
The echoes of past experiences and what different cultures can teach us about shelter. Get ready for some unexpected insights.
It's a feeling we all chase, isn't it? That basic sense of safety inside our own four walls.
Absolutely.
But when you actually start to break it down, it's amazing how many different things feed into it. We're talking about that deep link between our minds and bodies feeling secure, the sort of hidden language of the spaces we live in, the whole dance of relationships within them, and, what happens when that feeling of safety is broken.
It's way more complex than just like the alarm system.
Much more, yeah. It's a really intricate picture.
Okay, absolutely. So let's unpack this. Why is that feeling of safety at home so fundamental? Our sources immediately pointed towards Maslow's hierarchy.
Right, the pyramid of needs.
Yeah. Safety isn't just a nice to have. It's like a cornerstone.
Yeah.
Right there after basic survival food, water.
Precisely. And here's something really interesting. Without that solid base of safety, and that means not just physical shelter, but also, emotional stability, predictability.
Okay.
It becomes incredibly hard for us to even think about those higher level needs.
Like what?
Like connection, love, creativity, personal growth. It's almost like our brains are wired to say, secure the perimeter first.
And the neuroscience behind this is really compelling, isn't it?
Oh, definitely.
When we sense danger, our amygdala, that ancient threat detector in our brain.
See, alarm bell.
Yeah. It kicks in, floods us with stress hormones. Our sources highlight that living in a consistently unsafe place can lead to this chronic high alert.
Constantly pumping out cortisol.
Right, which messes with sleep and can even weaken our immune system over time.
And what's truly remarkable is the flip side of that. When we feel genuinely secure, our prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain for reasoning, empathy, long-term planning.
Thinking part.
Exactly. It can actually thrive. It's like the brain finally goes, okay, coast is clear. We can think about bigger things now.
So the core message is pretty clear then.
Yeah. Our bodies and minds simply can't truly rest or repair or develop properly in an environment where fear is always humming in the background.
This brings up a really interesting distinction in our notes. Safety versus just comfort.
Ah, yes. They're not the same thing at all.
Right. Emotional safety, it seems, isn't just about avoiding discomfort. It's more about having the freedom to be ourselves.
Totally. Messiness and all, being able to disagree, to be vulnerable, to just rest without judgment. That's emotional safety.
Okay, because you could have a fortress, physically secure.
Bristling with locks and cameras.
But if the atmosphere inside is judgmental or cold, it doesn't feel safe deep down.
Exactly. It can feel incredibly repressive. But conversely, our sources also warn that too much unchallenged comfort.
Like never leaving the cozy bubble.
Yeah. It can actually stifle growth if we're never pushed a little, never have to stretch within our safe zone. We might just get stuck.
So a truly safe space needs to be dynamic, not static.
That's a great way to put it. It should support transformation, allow us to evolve, not just keep us contained.
Okay, interesting. Let's shift gears a bit to the more tangible stuff.
Yeah.
Locks, walls.
The physical barriers.
Our research traces locks way back, like 4,000 years ago in ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
Those cool wooden tumble things.
Incredible, isn't it? And what's really significant there is how closely locks are tied to private ownership.
Marking your territory.
And the idea of personal space, yeah. As societies got more complex, people needed ways to protect their stuff, their boundaries.
And obviously that evolution continues today. Deadbolts, alarms, smart locks.
Biometrics, cameras, the whole 9 yards.
But it's not just the lock itself, is it? The door. The door has so much symbolic weight.
Oh, absolutely. It's a threshold. Our sources really emphasize that.
A boundary marker.
A point of consent, thinking about who we choose to let into our private world.
And that transition, right, from the public chaos outside to your private sanctuary.
Totally. Think about taking off shoes at the entrance in many cultures. Our notes call it almost a sacred act. like shedding the outside world.
Yeah, it really drives home that idea.
Mm.
Home doesn't start at the bedroom, it starts right there at the door.
Exactly.
Okay, so moving beyond the physical structure, let's talk emotional safety within relationships at home. This feels crucial.
Absolutely critical. When we look at parent-child dynamics, secure attachment is fundamental.
Which comes from
Environments where kids feel consistently safe, where their needs are met reliably, predictability is huge.
routines, knowing what to expect.
Yeah, having those safe zones to explore within the home, knowing comfort is there when they're distressed. These are vital for emotional regulation.
And it's not just about being nice, is it? Boundaries matter too.
Oh, definitely. Clear but gentle boundaries actually make kids feel more secure, paradoxically. It gives structure to their world.
That makes total sense. And then between partners, spouses,
Similar themes, really. Non-judgmental communication is key.
being able to talk about anything.
And having a safe space for conflict, even. Knowing you can disagree or be vulnerable without being attacked.
Respected autonomy too, right? Privacy.
Absolutely. It's about creating, as our notes say, a shared emotional territory, not just, sharing the rent or mortgage.
I like that. Shared emotional territory. What about roommates or shared living?
Same principles apply. Respect for space, routines, personal items. Clear agreements are essential.
So everyone knows where they stand.
Yeah. Communal homes thrive on clarity, mutual responsibility, and empathy.
It all comes back to that powerful line in our notes.
Yeah.
Physical security is just a baseline. Emotional security is the real architecture of intimacy.
Such a good way to put it. It really is the foundation.
Okay, now let's explore something a bit more subtle, but deeply significant. The spiritual or symbolic meanings we attach to home.
Yeah, it's remarkable how many cultures see the home as more than just shelter. It's like a spiritual boundary.
How so? What are some examples?
Well, in Hinduism, for instance, the home is often seen as a sacred vessel. The kitchen especially holds
The
significance.
source of nourishment.
Exactly. In Islam, reciting blessings when entering or leaving, it turns that simple act into a moment of, spiritual realignment.
Mm.
In Judaism, you have the mezuzah on the doorpost, a constant reminder of the covenant.
A tangible symbol.
And then you look at many indigenous traditions where the home is often seen as alive, interconnected with the land, something needing balance and honor.
It really shifts the perspective from just owning a place.
Right. It becomes about relationship to the space, to people, ancestors, even spirit.
That's deep. Now, let's consider something often overlooked. Our senses. How do they play into feeling safe at home?
This is fascinating. Our sources point out that for people who've experienced trauma,
Uh-huh.
seemingly normal sensory things, a loud door slam, bright lights, cold floors, even long hallways can be incredibly triggering.
Unexpectedly setting off that alarm again.
Precisely. And this understanding has led to this growing field of trauma-informed design.
Okay, what did that involve?
It's about intentionally creating environments that feel calming and secure by thinking about sensory inputs.
So like softer textures.
Soft textures, yeah. Warm, dimmable lighting, clear sight lines so you don't feel trapped, predictable sounds.
Minimizing the jarring stuff.
Exactly. Avoiding sharp corners, maximizing natural light, reducing harsh contrasts in sound or visuals. These things can have a huge, often subconscious impact.
Which leads to that insight from our notes. True safety is often felt before it's understood.
It's visceral. It's embodied. You feel it in your gut.
Sadly, though, we have to acknowledge that for many people, home isn't safe at all.
That's the difficult truth, yes. For too many, it's a place of abuse, neglect, or constant surveillance.
The statistics on intimate partner violence are just sobering. Our sources mentioned 1 in 4 women, 1 in 9 men.
It's staggering, and it's crucial to remember psychological abuse, too.
The invisible wounds.
Yeah, which can make a home feel like a trap, even without physical bars. Survivors of trauma, even when they're physically safe later.
The echoes remain.
Right. PTSD can show up as hypervigilance, constantly checking locks, scanning rooms.
Sleep problems.
Major sleep disruption, claustrophobia, fear of being alone. It's a long list.
Our notes had a really powerful reframe here, though. Healing the home means reclaiming space, not just renovating rooms.
I love that. It's about restoring that sense of agency, security, control within the environment itself.
And this connects directly to accessibility as safety, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. A simple step can be a huge barrier for someone in a wheelchair.
Or flickering lights for someone with sensory sensitivities.
Or loud vents, yeah. These things can feel genuinely threatening.
So universal design principles are key.
Trying to create spaces that work for everyone. Ease of movement, Low stimulation zones, flexible layouts.
Because, as the notes say, if a home is only safe for some bodies, it's not truly a safe space.
Well put.
And then there are the power dynamics within the home, often invisible.
Who gets to define safe?
Right. Does a teenager feel they can lock their door? Does a stay-at-home parent feel autonomy over their day?
Do non-binary kids feel safe to be themselves? These are critical questions.
And factors like housing insecurity, disability, mental health, class, race, they all impact this lived experience of safety, don't they?
Massively. So the intent to create a safe space isn't enough. We have to look at the actual impact, especially on the most vulnerable people in that home.
Which leads us towards more deliberate design approaches, architecture, engineering for safety.
Right, like CPTID crime prevention through environmental design.
Okay, what's the core idea there?
It focuses on how the physical design itself can deter crime. Things like natural surveillance.
Good lighting, clear sightlines.
Exactly. Territorial reinforcement fences, hedges, porches that clearly mark private space, and access control locks, gates, layout design.
We also see more extreme versions, right? Safe rooms, panic spaces.
Yeah, sometimes bullet-resistant materials, fire escapes.
Yeah.
Often linked to a feeling of needing preparedness.
But our notes also highlighted something more everyday routine maintenance.
Ah, yes. The ritual of safety.
Checking smoke alarms, locking doors, changing filters. It's not just chores.
No, these actions can become symbolic acts of care. They communicate, I'm looking after this place, and by extension, we are cared for here.
That's powerful, especially for someone healing from chaos, maybe.
Definitely. Those simple routines can help rebuild trust in the environment. It supports that idea. Safety isn't always a feeling, it's sometimes a habit.
A practiced habit.
Okay.
Now, let's look outward. How do different cultures approach this?
It's so fascinating. Our notes gave some great examples, like the Japanese genkan.
The entryway space.
Yeah, it's a clear physical and symbolic separation. Chaos outside, tranquility inside. A real transition zone.
Interesting. What else?
Many indigenous American traditions use circular structures, symbolizing unity, protection, and inward focus.
Community.
Then you have Nordic hygge that focus on emotional warmth, coziness through lighting, textiles, shared rituals.
Creating that feeling deliberately.
And in the Middle East, interior courtyards offer privacy and safety for family gatherings, shielded from the outside.
So across cultures, it's way more than just walls.
It's deeply tied to meaning, values, traditions.
Okay, let's wrap up with some deeper philosophical thoughts. What really makes a space feel sacred, secure?
Well, our notes suggest the safest homes aren't necessarily the ones with the most tech.
Not the smartest lock.
Not necessarily, but rather those filled with presence, care, and consent among the people there.
So it comes down to trust.
That seems to be the core element, yes. The presence of trust, not just the absence of threat.
Guest and Bachelard's idea of the home as the shell of being really fits here.
It does, that intimate space for imagination, memory, solitude.
I love this thought from the notes. A house is made of bricks. A home is made of permission.
To be, to cry, to rest, to grow.
So good. He captures that emotional safety perfectly.
And our notes also touched on that duality, the home as fortress versus the home as portal.
Right, protecting us from the world, but also launching us into it.
Exactly. There's a warning against too much fortress that can lead to paranoia, isolation.
Cutting yourself off.
But a healthy home should be a launch pad, a place to rest, recharge, build strength before going back out. It should foster self-trust.
Not just rely on external protection.
Right, which raises that really profound question. What's the right balance between fortress and frontier?
That's a really powerful question to sit with. And speaking of reflection, our sources gave some great questions for listeners. What space in your home feels the safest and why? What is it about that space? Have you ever lived somewhere that didn't feel safe? What made the difference?
Thinking about the contrast.
What does emotional safety actually look like, feel like in your household day to day?
Making it practical.
How do you protect the peace in your space? But also, how do you welcome others into it? That balance again.
The threshold question.
And then finally, what rituals, people, or design elements make your space feel sacred, protected?
Personalizing it. These are all really valuable prompts.
Definitely food for thought.
And maybe with that, we can leave listeners with the final thought from our sources. It really encapsulates our whole deep dive today.
Okay.
A home is so much more than just where you sleep. It's fundamentally the place where you feel safe enough to truly lower your guard.
Let down your defenses.
Yeah, it's that sanctuary where the world stops watching so closely, where maybe your inner critic gets a bit quieter.
The tension eases.
And that tension in your shoulder starts to release. And maybe most profoundly, it's where safety stops being just about survival.
And becomes the foundation for transformation.
Exactly. A truly safe home isn't defined just by keeping dangers out. It's characterized by the presence of trust, care, and the freedom to be authentically yourself inside. It's not just where we lock the doors, it's where we feel safe enough to unlock ourselves.
Unlock the hidden parts.
Yeah, it's not just guarding what's inside, it's where we're invited to grow, to rest, to scream, to grieve.
To feel it all.
Without judgment, and just be in all our complexity. Because ultimately, a safe space isn't really a place where nothing can ever hurt us.
No.
It's the nurturing environment where we are finally allowed to heal.